Hey guys, welcome to Double Shot of Steelers presented by FanDuel. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, back here in downtown Pittsburgh, or as I will tend to refer to it among family and friends, just the good place, back in the good place. I already went and did some of my downtown things on the way in here today, saw my downtown people, and I'm now here with you in my downtown setting. And it's really good to be back, if you can't tell, after how many days was that overseas? 4? Is it 4 days in Ireland? Sounds right? Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Yeah, because we stayed Monday. The 4 days over there in Dublin, Ireland, nothing but great things to say about everything and everybody over there. What a city. I'm not being one of those people who just says it because that's what the football people all said when they were there. I've been there before. It's a really special place. Every nook and cranny of it, to borrow from some of the dialect, it's very much worth your stop, and very much worth, I should put that differently, going out of your way. Make it a destination. It doesn't have to be a stopover to somewhere else, although that's the way a lot of people use it because of its geographical location. Just gorgeous. Now, that said, it's also just gorgeous outside here in downtown Pittsburgh, and the team had a final session. The team had, I don't know if you'd call it a practice session. They had a session where they were all together today. There was a little bit of stretching and so forth, but for the most part, it was videos, studying work, and that sort of thing. There also was an availability there. What we're going to talk about today, I'm going to be joined here in a little while by Chris Halleck, who was over there covering that for us, is whether or not this defense really improved. I know there were a lot of things that we liked in watching the game. There were a lot of different scenarios that you could pluck from the game. I don't even mean necessarily plays. I mean, for example, Keanu Benton coming up with 3 sets of splash. TJ Watt with the monster, pivotal play of the game, I believe, with that interception, focusing on the ball, hitting off his right forearm. You could do that across the board. But then, at the end of the day, the Vikings still had close to 400 yards with Carson Wentz at quarterback. And if you go over the Steelers' first 3 games, you'll see that the yardage totals, the opposing team's yardage totals, were all right around that range. The first 2 were almost at 400. So there's still too much give. There's some take, but too much of the former. And I don't know really what to think of it. That's one of the reasons that I wanted to bring it up today, was to let's bounce this around. Let's hear what you have to say about this. Let's hear what Chris has to say about this. Put everything together, and and see if we can come up with some conclusions. We're also going to have a clip of some stuff that Terrell Austin had to say on the subject today. Carol says that she read that they were closing 4 Starbucks in Pittsburgh and was worried for me. Well, first off, they're closing 3 in the Pittsburgh area, not the city. There is Pittsburgh, the city, and then there's the rest of Allegheny County, Mount Lebanon, whatever. That is not Pittsburgh. This is Pittsburgh. 3 stores in Pittsburgh proper, are closing. Not one of them is downtown. Downtown being our golden triangle. I always feel like I need to educate people on this, because they'll say anything that's in this general direction, they call it downtown. It's not. Downtown is a neighborhood. It's the golden triangles from the Point State Park Fountain to Grant Street. The end. That's downtown. And none of ours are closing. In fact, we just had another one open up on Ross Street recently, which is very, very nice. When we come back, we'll do so with Chris. Hey, guys, if you're planning to see a Steelers game, use the Game Time app to get your tickets. You can snag new ticket deals before anyone if you set it into your app alerts. The app is easy to use. No surprise fees at checkout. You can see your seat view before buying, and you're getting legit tickets delivered on time. If you're not much of a planner, you can get last-minute deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. Lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app and enter the code DK Steelers into your app profile to get $20 off your first purchase. All right, everybody, welcome back. And Chris is here too. Hi, Chris. Look, we all made it back.
We all made it back, and I'm glad that everybody who watched the show yesterday made it back, because that means they weren't completely turned off by my ugly mug taking up the
now. Behave over there in Westmoreland County or wherever the heck you are. Wherever.
They need to open up a Starbucks closer to my house because the closest one for me is like 10 minutes away.
It's down on 30, right?
Yeah.
Or you guys can just support local businesses.
Nah, that'll be enough out of the gallery over here. Yeah,
we do support local business. We actually a coffee shop that's like 2 minutes from us in downtown Harrison City that my wife likes to go to. So we do that as well.
Yeah, a lot of the Starbucks though are also individually owned and they are local businesses. Mike says splash is more important than yards. The league is so offensively skewed that it's hard to stop an offense completely, but winning the turnover battle like the Steelers have been is far more important. Listen, nobody's quibbling with the Steelers splash component here.
I like that take, actually.
It's good.
I really do. Yeah, it's a good take. It's I understand. Like, I think what some people think is they think of like you have to be number one in total yards against and everything, like in order to be like a number, because oftentimes like the number one defense, the top ranked defense is total yards against, and the Steelers are nowhere close to that right now. But I don't understand why we haven't always judged defenses off points per game, because isn't the name of the game to stop the other team from scoring points?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that really is like the goal. But then, so yeah, they need to improve at points per game for sure. But when you are able to get to the quarterback and take the ball away as often as the Steelers typically do, that's pretty good defense.
And Gene Smith brings up the weighty downs, which weren't anywhere near as bad.
Oh, they were great.
In Dublin as they'd been before that. I believe the Steelers were. Or I should say that the Vikings were, I think it was 6 of 14 on third down, something to that effect. They were still effective on fourth down, but that's just the new reality in football. Yeah. The teams are just converting fourth downs. But the third down component was a much stronger one for the Steelers. My point here, and what I should say is it's a thought more than anything else here, because I don't have an answer for it. When I look at what the Steelers have done over these first 4 games defensively, still and all, the number that jumps out at me is yardage. It's still, they are giving up a lot of yards. Now, you can be that person who says, okay, well, they were about to hold the Vikings to this and that before that massive pass play with Jordan Addison at the end, the one where Peyton Wilson impressively brought him down from behind.
Yeah.
But those count. And in fact, that play counts more than most, because it almost put the Vikings in position. Well, they ended up scoring anyway. They ended up losing a minute at a time because of Wilson's tackle, but it put them in position to come back and tie the game or win the game. And it's a big, big play, and it counts. And you still ended up with, what was it, Chris? 360.
I mean, Carson Wentz had 350 yards. I mean, by himself. I mean, passing yards. Now, take away all the yardage lost in terms of sacks, in terms of what they had for total passing yards. But yeah, no, they still had a lot of offensive yards. But
372. I'm looking right at it. Yeah. And you're right. Wentz ended up with 350 passing yards. He lost almost 50 on the 6 sacks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crushing stuff.
And one of they didn't get a 7th sack because they forced him into intentional grounding. So that's not even counted in that.
So what you have is if I look at Minnesota's rushing, Jordan Mason, who I thought ran hard for the Vikings over there, at 16 carries for 57 yards, 3.6 average. That's not going to scare anybody. The Vikings ended up with 70 on the ground because of 12 panic yards from Wentz. Justin Jefferson did what he usually does, always does. 10 catches, 126 yards. He's just not somebody that you can stop. You have to contain, as they say. But this still isn't it, Chris. Okay, this is still 372.
Yeah.
And the other games were all in the 390s and so forth. And I know that there's more yards being given up in the NFL and whatever, but it's not okay to just have the team go pumping down the field on you. I'm not being greedy here, I swear.
Well, I know. Okay, so here's a couple things that I think about, and this is gonna sound way off the wall at first, but I just put a waiver claim in my fantasy league with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now, and why is he even available? Possibly, well, it's because fantasy is all about counting stats. It's all about counting yards, and he might not be like one of the best fantasy quarterbacks right now. But the whole reason why, like, I bring that up is it's not just about yards. It's not just about like the total numbers that you end up seeing. It's how well are they doing on third down? How often do they take the ball away? And in this case, when you talk about, okay, if they give up a lot of yards, how well do they perform in the red zone? How often do they force the other team to settle for 3 points instead of getting 7 points? Because if you allow if a team gets 8 drives in a game and they get a field goal on every single drive, now that's not good. That means you let them get into field goal range every single time. That's a pretty bad performance. But you force them to to settle for a field goal. That's 24 points. Now, that's not great. But like offenses are averaging like a good offense should average more than 25 points right now. So you're talking about like
the bar is higher.
Right.
I get that part. I'm still not crazy about these yardage totals, and I'm not basing them on how I felt about the yardage totals, in the 80s or something. I look at this defense and I think they're capable of. They did a good job getting off the field. There's just too much that's still being given up. There's still too much that's being conceded. The good part is they did appear to solidify the run stopping, just as the offense did in terms of the run, the run blocking and so forth. It was, things were stabilized. They're not where they need to be still. I think that's a fair assessment of this defense.
No, they're definitely not where they want to be either. And it's not even just need to be. They're not where they want to be either. But I do think, and people are not going to like to hear this because they like to think that whatever Mike Tomlin says behind the podium is just him making excuses for whatever. But the whole thing where he was saying like they were leaking in the secondary is 100% true.
Yeah, and no one talked about it. No one talked about it.
That play, and I think I talked about this on the show yesterday. That play where they blew the coverage, where Jordan Addison got behind everybody. Your primary communicator for the secondary is Jalen Ramsey. He's not on the field because of injury. Your backup communicator from that same position would be Brandon Echols. He was not on the field because of injury. So your two primary communicators from that spot, the nickel, because the nickel is the most versatile guy that can move around, so he's going to be able to talk to everybody, is not on the field. The two main guys who would be able to do that. Then Chuck Clark is probably that next guy, or Deshaun Elliott, and somebody didn't get the message because that's not what they've been doing throughout the entire game. And so, yes, those things play. I mean, if Ramsey or Echols don't have Ramsey on the field, if Echols is on the field, I don't think that play happens. That's 81 yards of what they gave up gone. I mean, I'm not saying that the Vikings don't get any yards on that play. Maybe they do. Maybe they get something underneath, but that's 81 yards of a chunk they don't get. I think they eliminate that one big mistake. And even Terry Lawson took blame for that today, saying I shouldn't have called something that complex. It should have been way more simple because we knew we didn't have the players on the field. So he took ownership of that. And I thought that was actually a pretty good thing for him to do. But I think they're definitely trending in the right direction, but no, they're not where they should be or even want to be yet.
Yeah, that play in particular was I mentioned to you when we left the locker room that day that one of the players had mentioned to me that things had really gotten simplified schematically heading into this game.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers coaching staff and Austin in particular wanted to stress to their defense, listen, just stop worrying about this or that or thinking this or that. Let's just go after them.
Yeah.
Okay, you see the football, go tackle it. Don't worry about who's supposed to be there or where you were supposed to, whatever. And more than one player would end up phrasing that, though not as specifically as this first one that I'm referencing, where they felt they were just cut loose, basically. No, that's not to suggest they were blitzing like crazy or whatever. There were a fair number of blitzes and so forth.
They were blitzing like crazy.
It was more about how they just weren't going to have to be stopping and thinking with every snap. Yeah. And that's a positive for this team. If you look at where the damage was done to the Minnesota offense, it was done in the Minnesota backfield, not just to Wentz. It was done to the running backs. It was done even with getting a couple of wide receivers for losses. The Steelers were across the line of scrimmage, making things happen. And Chris, you and I go back to Latrobe. That's what this thing was supposed to be. Okay, everything was supposed to be having everybody up at the line and get them and make the plays, and that was really encouraging to see.
Oh, 100%. Listen, they are there. I mean, when you talk about, first off, as soon as you said simplifying, I went back and looked at the film because I didn't really have a chance to flying back on Monday. Well, actually, I couldn't because NFL Plus and like NFL.pro or whatever is like not even available overseas, so I couldn't even do it. They ran more for like X's and O's people. They ran more cover 2 man than I ever expected. Cover 2 man is outdated. Like that is like something that people don't use very much anymore. And maybe it was like one of those things where you're like, nobody really uses it much anymore. So it almost threw the Vikings off to be like, you have 2 high safeties and then it's man against the 5 eligibles underneath. And then you're blitzing everybody else. Like I don't know, but it worked and they executed it well. As a matter of fact, the Steelers are second in the league now in terms of how often they're using cover 2 man. So sometimes it does take just simplifying some things. And sometimes I think that with what they're doing in terms of schematics and what they're doing in terms of continuing to play with each other, that they're continuing to get more and more into a rhythm. And now you have the bye week to really like work through all this stuff, and they've made good use of this bye week in recent seasons. They really, really have on both sides of the ball, and it's bore fruit in previous seasons too. So I'm curious to see how they are coming out of the bye because they're trending upward heading into it, which is always a good thing.
They're trending upward in terms of their performance. A lot of you have been asking here in the live chat that we conduct during this show about the statuses of both Calvin Austin and Jalen Ramsey. The correct full answer to this is that nobody knows right now. I can tell you, when Chris and I walked past Cal in Ireland, Chris saw that, rattled me too. He's like, he was talking about something. I just totally tuned Chris was, and I just like tuned him out. And I go, man, can you imagine how much pain Cal is in for Cal to be showing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
like, this is a tough hombre. I also was able to just exchange hellos with Jalen Ramsey, but he was in same thing, just no mindset, no mood. We're going to stop and chit chat. Mm-hmm. So in Ramsey, I mean, in Cal's case, you can tell what it is. I mean, he got his shoulder banged up.
Yeah.
And, we'll see how shoulders are funny things.
They really are. Trust me. I know. I have. Yeah.
Shoulders are. Yeah. I've spoken with surgeons, orthopedic surgeons, who work with baseball players who, of course, have the most intricate of shoulder issues.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the pitching. And they have told me, and please don't take this as a suggestion that Cal's about to get surgery or something, but they have told me that there's not an MRI in the world that'll show you what's wrong inside a shoulder. You can look at the MRI and it's helpful and you can guess.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
In their terminology, the way doctors talk, you don't know anything until you're in there.
Yeah.
That's the way they actually talk, until you're in there. Well, here's hoping for a billion reasons. They're not going in there with Cal. We've heard nothing of the kind. And Chris, you haven't seen a sling on him or anything this week?
I did not see him in a sling while I was on the south side. So there was no locker room today, so we didn't see players today. Well, we didn't see. I saw some of the players that were on IR today on the field, but that was it. But no, I did not see. I saw Calvin Austin. He was not in a sling. I did not see Jalen Ramsey at all while there was a locker room. He was not in there for 1 second.
So, again, the correct answer is that we don't know, and we're not going to know. Beyond that, you do have the following week. I will say that as hamstrings go, as long as I'm sitting here pretending to have some kind of medical degree, this is based on nothing other than covering sports for a living. That hamstrings, you know, what's funny, Chris, in that game when Jalen thought he was running the touchdown back, Jalen Ramsey, when he was running the touchdown back and he turned around and he grabbed the left hand. I mean, we thought he was just kind of playing or he was just faking because he stayed in the game. Well, it turns out he wasn't. It turns out he actually did feel something.
I don't think it was that play. That was the celebration that Justin Jefferson did. I don't remember when, but Justin Jefferson did that celebration one time.
He was mocking. Okay, he might have been mocking Jefferson. He also might have been whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
and we can't know because again, we haven't. Other than me saying hello, we didn't talk to him.
We'll let Ramsey put that one to bed whenever he finally talks.
Whenever he finally comes around, but we just don't know.
Yeah,
we just don't know. So if there's a positive, it's that Jaylen Warren told me in Ireland unequivocally that he was held out of that game over there just as a preventive thing. They wanted him to have that game and the bye week to get ready for Cleveland. Jalen is as close as you can come to being 100% for the two divisional games that the Steelers are about to play. Okay, that's positive. They're also going to get back, in all likelihood, Joey Porter.
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not going to say who told me this, but somebody else told me Joey's doing real well. Okay? and that Joey is kind of in a same spot as where Jalen is in terms of health. So you're going to have both of those players back, which will be nice for very different reasons, obviously. The arrow is pointed upward, as the coach likes to say. When we come back, we're going to take some of your questions here, whether it's about Ireland or football or whatever you have, right after this brief message. All right, so guys, here's how this works. Not only is football season finally here, but we're finally back after 5 days overseas. It's time to check out the latest odds, futures, and win totals on the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you think the Steelers, who are now 3-1 and sitting pretty atop the AFC North, as if that means anything after the 2024 season, that they might be headed to the Super Bowl, lock in your bets today, whatever your game happens to be. FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials so that you can join in on all of the action. Love the question that gets us started today. That's from Dale Penny, who says, DK, you see it every day. Does it look like Aaron Rodgers is having fun, or is it just me? Listen, take this from the guy who had this as his biggest concern for several months before Rodgers signed. Okay? I don't know the guy. Chris didn't know the guy. None of you knew him unless, you happen to be like pals or whatever with the Rodgers clan. So what you needed to see, you couldn't have seen until he got into the fold. The moment he did, and that was going back to minicamp, not Latrobe.
Yep.
You could tell he was making every effort to immerse himself into the environment. He wasn't acting like he was above anybody. He wasn't acting like he was above the ball boy. He got to know the ball boys. He got to know everybody in the Steelers world as quickly and as non-fakely, not a word, as you could. And all we've seen since then, I don't ever speak for anybody else. All I've seen since then, and Chris is going to share with you his own views here. All I've seen is that he's become a Steeler.
Oh, yeah.
I watch him walking off that field now that he does with the way it used to be just Mike Tomlin and Cam Hayward, and now Rodgers is in there too. Like he got invited into the club. I have yet to ask anybody how that came about. Might be worth bringing up, sometime next week. But now he's in that club, and you see his face, and you see the gestures that he's making, the smile, like you said, the happiness. Jay Moods brings up the block that he threw for Kenny Gainwell. It was actually really well timed, and really he didn't put himself at risk, did he?
No,
it was nice. It was a good block, and actually, I think it legitimately helped Gainwell get all the way out to the left edge. But I also look at different things. When I see him, he threw the pass to DK Metcalf for the 80 yards, and I don't know if they showed this on TV or not, but I was just watching him. Everybody else is running, down the field. Whatever. I was just watching Rodgers, and he points to the sideline, and he's going like this, and then he looks again, and he does it more emphatically. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that his point of communication, which I couldn't tell from where we were who he was exactly talking to. I thought or communicating with. I thought it might have been Arthur Smith for the play call or whatever. You know who it was?
Who?
Mason Rudolph.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was Mason. And remember all the drama and everything else there? There was something there that they liked. The quarterback room. The top two quarterbacks on the depth chart. And he motioned over to Mason. Now, this is the first time I'm mentioning this to anybody, but this is actually really, really cool. That, to me, says he's having fun, Chris.
I only need one example to show you how much fun Aaron Rodgers is having, and it's the play in which it looks like he's standing at a urinal. The tush push, the tush push, where Connor Hayward is taking the snap, and Darnell Washington and the two tight ends are about ready to push, and Rodgers is just standing like 5 yards behind him, with his hands on his hips, looking like he is just standing at a urinal, getting ready to, do his business. And as soon as the ball snapped and he sees everybody go forward, he just points straight forward for a first down. That is all the proof you need of how much fun that dude is having playing football right now. He loves playing here. It's a complete, after watching every single drop back of his time with the Jets, you never saw that kind of body language, this kind of just loose Aaron Rodgers. I've not. No, this is way, way better for him right now. And
I think, again, without pretending to get in his head, but just watching the way he interacts. One thing I want to make clear to everybody here: we'll occasionally mention how he is in an interaction with a Zach Frazier or someone who's pretty prominent with the team. He does not have a line of demarcation when it comes to that. He'll find some backup offensive linemen, and the two of them will just sit there and BS for a while afterward. Meanwhile, that person is probably sitting there going, I'm sitting here talking to Aaron Rodgers, Yeah. But only at the beginning, because part of what he wants to do is to have everybody feel comfortable about him. He's aware of his Aaron Rodgers-ness in every setting, and I don't mean that that he acts like that in a cocky way.
Yeah,
he knows that people are going to have a certain reaction to who he is because of how famous he is and everything that he's achieved, his prominence in the sport, and he has done a lot of really, really good things. I loved that this question came up here. Dave Black says, I'm rather enjoying Aaron Rodgers as a Steeler. Chris Dolnack correctly points out that the other Jets would suck the life out of anyone. I think that's a fair assessment. That's not to say that can't happen here still. Let's remember one thing about Rodgers. He's been here for 4 games. 3 of those have been wins. So he's had 3 opportunities, including 2 of them in road stadiums now, right? Where he does the strutting off the field, and all the Pittsburghers and then the Steelers fans are all waiting. And that feels really good. Mm-hmm. That feels really good. How does he handle, if things were to go bad, or if the offensive line were to regress instead of moving, getting better each passing week?
Well, you would and this is where you kind of have to keep everything in perspective, not just because of what the 2024 Steelers did by starting 10-3 and then, falling on their face, but look at the schedule the rest of the way. Yeah, they have the Browns coming out of the bye, and Mike Tomlin's teams, regardless of the opponent, are usually phenomenal after the bye. That it's almost an automatic win. Almost. It's not quite because he has lost games, but his record is phenomenal after a bye. And then it's Cincinnati. Yes, it's on a short week, but they are the wheels are falling off that one. And so you would think, okay, if they play sound football, they're going to be, 5-1 through their first 6 games. But after that, the schedule turns, and it turns. They're going to face some adversity. They are. I mean, they got the Packers. The Colts look like a really good team. The Chargers are a good team. They've got they've got the Lions at some point. They've got 2 games at the Ravens. They got to face Josh Allen and the Bills. They've got a heck of a schedule coming up, and so there will be adversity. And so yes, it looks good right now, and they got off to a good start. But it will be. I will be curious to see how Aaron Rodgers and this team in general, with Aaron Rodgers as one of the captains, as one of the leaders of this team, to see how they handle it, as opposed to what happened last year when they had another quarterback, another guy who was leading the way.
Before we get to a couple of questions that are lined up with contributions, which are always appreciated here, even when we don't mention it out loud, Mike says, I know we don't talk much about the rest of the AFC North, but the other teams seem really bad or really banged up. I would throw into parentheses there, Mike, or both. Mm-hmm. What does that mean for the odds of winning the division? Right now, not a heck of a lot.
No,
it looks good physically when you look at the standings, but everything is 1 or 2 wins away from changing. Any of these teams could end up with some kind of surprise performer. Dylan Gabriel is now going to be
the quarterback,
the quarterback of the Browns, which tells you so much about that stuff that we declined to talk about during the draft, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They've now gone through everybody else that they could have, and they still don't want that kid playing.
He's still third string. It's not like they're switching to Gabriel and then making Sanders the second.
He's
still the third stringer.
Down. Yeah, and Fool did a set of interviews today. Have you seen this video?
I've not. Oh, God.
A set of interviews in Cleveland where he was just miming back the questions to the reporters. He actually didn't give answers. He did this for like 2 or 3 minutes before the reporter just went, you know what, screw you, dude. We're out of here. So, yeah, you wonder why nobody drafted him.
Oh, God.
What does it mean toward the odds of winning the division? You know what we can do is we can talk about really where the Steelers would be after these next 2 games. Not even the next one, but the next 2 games, because you do have a couple of AFC North teams finally on the schedule. You have a chance to build yourself up. This doesn't have anything to do with the division, but you have yourself a chance to build yourself up within the conference.
Oh, yeah. As
it relates to seeding. And remember that the Steelers' only loss so far came to an NFC team in Seattle. So they're in a good spot. I've said this, and I said this over in Ireland. If somebody would have parachuted you in and told you 3-1 into the bye week.
Oh, yeah.
You take it 100 times out of 100, no complaints.
100%.
But now what you got to do is you got to come back and you got to take care of business. Cleveland is a team without a quarterback. Cincinnati is a team without their quarterback, although they've gotten some pretty decent play from the backup. Who's the heck's the backup in Cincinnati?
Browning.
Okay. He played well last week. If you put these wins together where they are right now, and remember, aligning with the injured quarterback on the schedule is part of life in the NFL. It's not something that you apologize for.
Nope.
What you have to do is what the Steelers just did in Ireland. They weren't going to go, oh, no, it's not J.J. McCarthy out there. This win won't be worth as many, bonus points to us. No. You got to beat the guy in front of you.
Does the Steelers' 6th Super Bowl not count because Tom Brady didn't play that season for the Patriots because of his torn ACL? No.
Part of life.
That Lombardi is still on South Water Street right now and not in New England. It's just it's part of it. So,
beat Cleveland and beat Cincinnati is what I'm saying.
Oh, 100%.
Get to 5-1, and then we can start looking at scenarios that are inside the division. But like I said earlier, 2024 just happened. We don't have to wonder what happens when you presume anything. That team was 10-3.
The best thing that you can do right now, like you said, is just go beat Cleveland and go beat Cincinnati. There are two teams that, yes, they're division rivals, but there are two teams that you can beat, and you should be. If you have real playoff aspirations, real Super Bowl aspirations, you've got to beat those two teams. You have the better quarterback in both games. I don't care how people are grading Aaron Rodgers, not grading Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers is better than Dylan Gabriel and Jake Browning. He just is.
We're going to do a couple more. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris.
No, I'm just saying, like, and then you think about it. Okay, if you're 5-1, and the Ravens, they are about to play a Texans team that's about to be very, very desperate, and then they have to, and then they have to play a Rams team that looks like a real Super Bowl contender.
Yep.
I mean, there's a real chance the Ravens are 1-5. Or at least 2-4
when the Steelers bounce back.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you still need to have these wins. You still need to go out there. Even if the Ravens start out 1-5 and you're 5-1, you've got a 4-game lead. You still have to keep going. Like, you can't just settle for that. So yeah, you got to go win these games.
Couple more questions today. They both come with contributions. Pierre with $5 says, it's a bye week. Let's have fun. Rodgers has been flirting with a second year. Would he take it well if the Steelers drafted a round 1 quarterback for mentoring? Okay, there are certain points in your NFL career where you take offense to that sort of thing. Rodgers famously took offense, and not without cause, to Jordan Love being drafted. Yeah. When and where he was. That's probably in part because the same scenario played out for him as a child being drafted into Green Bay. And he saw how that went. Sooner or later, he was going to take over for Brett Favre. That ended up being probably later than it should have been, if you think about it. But Love was also in the back seat for a while there. So there's not anything here that would, I don't think there's an NFL team anywhere that wants to start a round 1 quarterback, unless there's somebody that's just really special, like a Joe Burrow, where you say, and even then you're running the risk because he had no offensive line. What ends up happening? They get him broken right away. You're seeing now, unfortunately, in Nashville, with Cam Ward, who's shown his talents. No one was appreciating him at the draft, by the way. Number 1 overall pick, and we were all talking about somebody who couldn't even be Cleveland's number 4. This kid has shown everything, but he's also showing what it looks like to play for a god-awful team, and that's what the Titans are. Would Rodgers take offense to it? My God, no. How could he? He'd be 42.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think that. And I think that, like, listen, to your point, you don't ever draft a quarterback, or I say you rarely draft a quarterback to have him start right away. Patrick Mahomes did not start right away. He sat for a year behind Alex Smith, and that definitely helped in his development. And the rare quarterbacks that have started right away, they're not always Joe Burrow, who pretty much comes right into the league and is immediately amazing. Josh Allen took a little bit of time to get going. No, not much, but it took him a little bit of time to become Josh Allen, like MVP Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson did not start right away. Like these guys, like, they typically need a year. And Ben Roethlisberger was not supposed to start right away and did not start right away.
Not until Tommy got hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, like, the best plan would be keep your plan intact. Still try to go get that quarterback if you possibly can. And then if Rodgers wants to come back for a second season, phenomenal. Now that guy can sit behind Aaron freaking Rodgers for a year and learn behind one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
And it's also pressure free because Rudolph is under contract for an additional year as well. So you can bring him in, and now right now I can imagine everybody's Will Howard, you guys are burying Will Howard. We love Will Howard. God. Robert says, hey, DK and Chris, do you guys feel like a corner has turned for this team? I feel like the players were extra complimentary to one another. Locker room is locker room. And yeah, there was some of that vibe in that room over there in Ireland. This is going to get me in trouble. My answer to the question that Robert's asking here is yes. And the reason for that is they saw what their principal issues were, and they made attempts at the coaching level to address those. Now, are those long-term fixes? Are those, are you just going to bench Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith in favor of Spencer Anderson and Darnell Washington? I don't want Arthur Smith's job in figuring that out, because they just showed the template for how, what we really needed to do here was to block. It didn't matter how we did it, and didn't matter with whom we did it, but we needed to block. All right, we did that. What we needed to do on defense was to tackle the football and get more active in the backfield. Well, they did both of those things. But those circumstances aren't all that that's it. Got it all figured out. It's just not.
I'm going to go a different direction with this one. So I think, first off, let me preface this by saying, I think the things that you see in movies, one of the best scene ever in Miracle, and might be the best sports scene of all time, is Kurt Russell's portraying of Herb Brooks's pregame speech ahead of the game against the Soviet Union. That scene is, every time it's the anniversary of the Miracle on Ice, that scene is played, and it just goes all throughout social media. It's phenomenally done. Kurt Russell did an amazing job. But that stuff is usually overplayed. That does not happen as often in real sports as you think it might happen. That being said, I think Mike Tomlin did have a speech for the team the night before the game, because multiple players talked about how Mike Tomlin talked about that game and talked about how much that game would have meant to Dan Rooney. And they brought that up unsolicitedly, and they talked about how Mike Tomlin got emotional talking about Dan Rooney. And when you see the way the team then played that game, to have that happen, and then for them to have that kind of buy-in and to play that well, yes, I think they're turning a corner. And if they can have, I'm not going to say that they're going to go and they're going to think of Dan Rooney every single time they're going to take the field this year, because not every game is going to be at Croke Park in front of that amazing crowd in Dublin. But that to know that Mike Tomlin can have that kind of an effect, to know that those players will then buy into each other, not just to play for Tomlin and to play for the Rooneys that way, but to buy in with each other and to play like that. Yes, I think they're turning a corner.
I'll always prefer Herbie's speech before the Finland game. Sorry. Well, you got to get the full uncensored version of it. It's so much better. Oh my goodness. You have to look it up now, guys. If you think I'm sharing with you the Finland speech on this show, we'll be banned forever. But for anybody who doesn't know, the United States beat the Soviet Union. Of course, that was not the gold medal game.
Not the gold medal game,
contrary to a lot of perception. They think that's it. They won. Miracle. They didn't win anything that day.
No, that
all they did was
the gold medal game.
Yeah, they advanced to play a really blah Finland team for the gold medal.
Yeah.
And let's just say that Herbie laid it all out there as to what would happen to their big Miracle on Ice if they didn't finish off the Finns.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
Guys, listen, we have to go today. We're gonna connect again tomorrow. Appreciate you. Make sure you download the app. That's look at what this guy, he's even selling his clothing to get this concept across. Download the app, like the shirt says. You do that by going to your Apple or Android store mechanism, type in DK Pittsburgh Sports. Don't overthink this. It's free, just like every other app you've ever downloaded. That's free. And then email me, dk@dkpittsburghsports.com. I will get you a discount that you will not say no to for the premium level, because it's a really steep discount. That gets you ad-free experience, all of our community possibilities. You can ask Chris questions today. He's in there today taking your live questions. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to be doing one of those at some point this week. I don't know when. So, all right, guys. Well, anyway, we're taking off because the boss is leaving. You see that? There she goes out the door. She's waving now. Wait, I'm in the way. Waving. She's heading out to do some buying in the official store context, for items and stuff like that we'll sell whenever Steelers fans start coming in here in about a week or so. for those home games that are coming up. All right, guys. See you tomorrow.